The hot Arizona sun beat down mercilessly on the dusty grounds of the local animal market in the small town of Ridge. A faint breeze stirred the grit, but it did nothing to ease the heavy air thick with the smell of sweat, hay, and fading hope. Among the chaos of livestock traders shouting prices and children tugging at their parents' sleeves, stood a frail, gray donkey with patches of thinning hair, drooping ears, and a limp in his back leg. His eyes, however, still glimmered with a strange quiet intelligence. He was tethered to a weathered wooden post, ignored by every passerby. His name, scrawled on a crooked cardboard sign, was Jericho. Beneath it, a blunt declaration, $25. No refunds. Ugliest animal I've seen all day, a man muttered to his friend, shaking his head in pity, or maybe disgust. Looks like it's already halfway to the glue factory, another chuckled cruelly. And yet, Jericho stood silently, unmoving, watching the world pass by with the stillness of someone who had seen much and expected little. From the far end of the market, a lanky young man with unkempt hair, faded jeans, and eyes brimming with quiet determination pushed through the crowd. His name was Elijah Brooks, a 28-year-old dreamer with calloused hands and an empty wallet. Life hadn't been kind to Elijah. His parents had passed in a car crash 5 years earlier, the small ranch they left behind was drowning in debt, and every job he applied for seemed just out of reach. Still, he believed things would turn. Somehow. Elijah hadn't come to the market to buy a donkey. He didn't even have money to buy one. He had come to sell a few jars of homemade cactus jam, hoping someone would take an interest. But the moment his eyes landed on Jericho, something stirred inside him. He saw beyond the limping leg and sunken frame. He saw resilience. He saw a kindred spirit. "You selling that donkey?" Elijah asked the vendor, a bored-looking man leaning against a crate. "Yeah, not that anyone's buying. $25. I just want to be rid of it." "Useless thing," the man scoffed. Elijah looked at Jericho, then at the few crumpled bills in his pocket, his entire week's earnings from selling jam. "I'll take him," he said, with a conviction that surprised even himself. The vendor blinked. "You sure, kid? You want a refund when it dies tomorrow? I ain't giving you one." "No refunds." "Got it," Elijah replied, as he took the rope and gently led Jericho away. Back at the ranch, Elijah gave Jericho water, patched up the old barn, and slowly began nursing the donkey back to health. It wasn't easy. Jericho was skittish at times and bore invisible scars from a life of neglect, but Elijah had patience. He whispered to him during feeding, sang to him under the stars, and treated him not as property, but as a companion. One morning, while walking Jericho through the desert outskirts of the ranch, Elijah noticed something strange. The donkey kept stopping at odd spots and pawing at the ground. At first, Elijah dismissed it as random behavior. But when it happened 3 times in a row, he got curious. He grabbed a rusty old shovel and started digging. Just beneath the surface, to his astonishment, he found chunks of rock flecked with green and blue. He took a sample into town, and a local geologist confirmed it was a rare vein of turquoise. And it was pure. Over the next few weeks, Elijah followed Jericho's instincts. Wherever the old donkey stopped and pawed, turquoise was found. In places, copper and silver, too. It was as if Jericho had a sixth sense for buried treasure. Word spread quickly, and soon, Elijah's land, which had once been considered barren, became a hotspot for miners and buyers. Offers came in from investors and jewelry companies. Elijah didn't sell the land. He leased it. Smartly. Within a year, Elijah had transformed from a broke rancher to a local legend, a millionaire with a heart still grounded in soil and sweat. But the real star wasn't Elijah, it was Jericho. Newspapers dubbed him the Millionaire Donkey, and tourists came from far and wide to catch a glimpse. Elijah refused to let anyone buy or even ride him. "He's family," Elijah would say. "He didn't just find me wealth, he reminded me what hope looks like." But money wasn't what changed Elijah's life. It was the journey, the simple, overlooked truth that something, or someone, that others saw as worthless could be the key to everything. Elijah used a large portion of his newfound wealth to open an animal rescue center, right on his ranch. He named it Jericho's Haven, where mistreated, abandoned, or aging animals could live out their days with dignity. Jericho, despite his limp and age, would slowly wander through the rescue grounds, often stopping near new arrivals and nuzzling them gently, as if to say, "You're safe now. I know what it's like." One stormy evening, Elijah sat beside Jericho under the barn's wide awning, rain drumming softly on the roof. "Remember the day I found you?" Elijah whispered. "Or maybe, you found me." Jericho blinked slowly, his old eyes reflecting the barn's gentle light, then rested his head on Elijah's knee. Time passed, as it does. Jericho grew older, slower, and one spring morning, he didn't wake up. Elijah buried him beneath the tallest mesquite tree on the ranch, not far from the spot where they had first struck turquoise. A plaque marked the place, Jericho, the donkey who saw what no one else could. The world didn't stop spinning when Jericho passed. But for Elijah, and for the countless animals and people touched by that old donkey's quiet magic, the world had been forever changed. In schools, children were taught Jericho's story as a lesson in looking beyond the surface. In churches, his tale was told as a modern parable about humility and unseen grace. And in hearts around the world, his memory remained as a whisper, "Never overlook the broken. Sometimes, they're the ones who carry the treasure." The truth is, miracles don't always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes, they come on four legs, with a limp, a quiet soul, and eyes that have seen enough sorrow to recognize hope when it's offered. And sometimes, they make you a millionaire, not just in wealth, but in wisdom. The end.